train. Um, guy who's
There we go.
there's a guy that I watch on YouTube. He does UFO stuff. His name is I think his name is Ryan, and he has a show called Post Disclosure. Like his content, he's not into politics, so it's not the exact same thing. So I have to be very gentle when I have this conversation because I don't necessarily want to go at somebody who's not in politics in a way I may go after somebody who's in politics. But he has this idea about what post-disclosure is going to look like that being into the political content, I can't see it. This idea that it's going to be this great time for discovery and for people to be questioning and looking at the news, and even to the point of saying it's a good idea for people to be able to get their hands on the technology itself, have a craft built by human hands. I'm not going to say nonsense, but that is not our reality. John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy gave to the moon speech, if you remember, he says, we choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it is hard. And this man who was only a few generations away from being an ape comes out with the temerity of saying they're going to the absolute goddamn moon itself. I'm going to the moon, that rock up in the sky. And the entire time that he's making these proclamations of freedom and justice and all this other stuff, John F. Kennedy was doing this for a missile race. He wanted to get dominated before the Soviets. He wanted to do this with this idea of getting, it was a militaristic exercise. The entire country itself was looking at this as if it was something separate and distinct from a militaristic episode, even though it was a militaristic episode. Going beyond that, I guess I'm making a point that what is put out to the public itself is not necessarily indicative of the reality of the event itself. And when you're getting into this stuff with like UFOs and stuff, it gets all over the place in regards to what's actually real. I'll give you another one, the missile gap. John F. Kennedy was one of these people who went after Dwight D. Eisenhower for a missile gap. There's a missile gap. There's a missile gap. So there's a missile gap. There's a missile gap. There's a missile gap. Everywhere you look, there's a missile gap. Well, there was no missile gap. In fact, it wasn't even certain if the missiles that they had could even hit us in the way that they were telling the public. It didn't matter. They fomented this type of fear tactic in order to gain a certain amount of control, in order to up the budget that they wanted to spend on money. What's taking place with the phenomena itself, we have no idea. And there's a bunch of spooks who have their arms around Tom DeLonge as they put out this information. And I would put forth to you that any technology that utilized would be utilized for military concerns first. I'm going to read Chalmers Johnson's book later on, where he goes into this idea of what the military wanted to do, having Earth supremacy and having weapons that could float around the atmosphere and drop bombs and missiles and weapons, either lasers or ballistic projectiles, onto the various places around the globe. And you add to that, there's something out there. Fear is an amazing motivator. And all of these ideas of this kind of glorious revelations that are taking place will get put into the dustbin of terror when people react in abject fear to whatever this thing is. So I'm going to end this here because our train is coming. I'll do a much fuller version of this because I know some of the people like the UFO stuff. So I'll end this here. Love Ryan's stuff. Yeah, love Ryan's stuff. So I'm not even on him, but him and I just do it on this one. So, all right, guys.